Happy Friday, YouTube. We are back with another trade recap video. Today I'm going to go over NIO and AMC, two trades I took with a reversal and also a low of day break. If you guys like the video, please feel free to give me a thumbs up and let me know how you like the trades in the comments section. Alright, let's jump over to the charts. Hey guys, here we are at AMC. This was my attempt at a break of low of day trade. I'm going to show you where the levels are and what happened when it failed. Okay, as you can see, here is my entry right here. The mindset behind this entry here is going to be the loss of this 9 EMA. Looked at the 9 and it looked like AMC was respecting it fairly well. Every time it would pop back up on the 1 minute chart, it just looks like it was not going to move past the 9. So that was really my stop loss at this entry, and I knew that I wanted to go ahead and take a low of day break, but I just wasn't sure where. The initial low of day is this yellow line right here that I drew, which was right around 45.09. So it was based off of this candle, and then as I watched AMC come back down, you can see right here at around 10:06, 10:07, it touched that line exactly one more time right to the penny, which happened here, and then it broke below. A really good entry on this would have been a perfect reverse ABCD off of maybe around the 50 or VWAP. Honestly, a trade at a loss of VWAP on AMC this morning would have been a beautiful trade. Unfortunately, I wasn't watching it when it lost VWAP, and so I didn't get this move. This would have been my favorite play of the day right here. But once it came down and touched this and then bounced back up, I said, okay, it's already respected the 9 EMA. One time here, it popped back up with a little bit of bullish momentum. Then it did not make it past the 9 there. It popped back up and didn't close above the 9 here. So I said, okay, let me go ahead and take an entry on this. And what I was looking for was at least a pop down to this level right here, which was around 44.95. I was basically hoping it was going to continue down and lose the $45 mark. That may have given me maybe around 25 to 30 cent profit. Unfortunately, what happened is it respected the heck out of the previous low, which is right here, this line which I told you I drew at 45.09. And that was all based off of just this one wick here. So this candle came down. I was actually in the green. I was in the green for 2 candles, but my target for my first partial was the low of this candle right here. I was looking for it to make a new low of day. Unfortunately, it didn't. I had my stop loss at the 9 EMA. I thought that it could possibly bounce off the 9 EMA and make one more move lower, which it had done twice previously. But as you can see here, it did not do that. Once I saw it close, actually it didn't close before I made my stop loss, but that was about as much as I was willing to risk. Once I saw it get that close to the 9 again, I said, you know what, I'm going to go ahead and get out of this trade. I wanted it to move lower with some more red volume. So you're going to see this red spike here, which pushed it down. Really, this was the one that I wish I'd been in on. And the green came back in. We had a nice red candle here. But once the green started coming back in, I think everybody knew that this was extended enough, and they saw that previous low and was like, okay, this is the time for the bulls to jump back in and push this back up closer to VWAP. And that's what happened. It moved up a good amount of candles. This would have actually been a good reversal off of a 6 candle move upwards, and then tried to play it under the 20 again. Unfortunately, I did not take that. But I did get stopped out, and I'll give you guys my stop loss here. Let's see what it was. I'm always fairly transparent about my prices. There's nothing really to hide as long as you stop out and don't carry bags. That's the only big thing. Don't carry bags. There's nothing else to be embarrassed about except for bags. So here was my entry right around 45.15, and my stop loss was right around 45.25. So that was a 10-cent stop loss. Most of the times that's my stop loss in the back of my mind. So my 1R is going to be 10 cents to 10 cents. And anything below or under, you know, obviously we move down. 30 cents is 3R, 40 cents is 4R, etc., etc. So
Really, the only time I like a stop loss to go more than 10 cents is if I have like a really small share size, or I'm trying to average in a pattern. But that was pretty much exactly where I wanted to stop loss. All right, next we're going to jump over to the NIO trade I took and go over my entries on that one. That trade took a lot longer to go through, so it's going to take a little bit longer to explain. But I hope that most of the exits and the entries will be clear once I talk through them. Let's go over to NIO. Okay, here we are at NIO. This trade was actually a failure to continue, or a failure of continuation. Either way, whatever you want to call it. You may want to call it a failure to make a new high. It wasn't the high of day, so it's not like I can say it was a high of day break failure because there was a previous high. This was more like it was reversing from the previous bottom, and then the momentum pushed it so high that the bulls got exhausted and it just fell back down. So I want to let you know why I entered, where I entered, and then kind of give you an idea of why I exited where I exited. Okay, my entry is right here. And the first thing that stood out to me was I missed this VWAP cross, which came from a really big green candle. As it moved up and squeezed past R3, it kind of hung around VWAP, it came back down, touched VWAP, and then it blasted higher for a good 10 cents. So that had a lot of volume, and that was really good. But what really always catches my eye, and this, like I said, this is my second favorite trade book to play, second only to the VWAP cross in around the 9:35 to 9:45 time frame. And the main reason this is my favorite is because it's so easy to point out. The number one thing we're looking for is a lot of volume pushing a stock higher. Now, we're not looking for volume because there was some super big catalyst or something like that. We're just looking for some momentum from where it had been beaten down. And as you can see here on the 1 minute candle here, it got completely beaten down at around 9:42. And also, if you look at the 5 minute candle on the other side of the screen, we had a nice drop from this level here all the way down to here to the previous day's close, which is what this dotted white line is. And it ran back up, bounced right off of it. That would have been a beautiful long, but again, I didn't take that. I was kind of waiting for a few specific trades to take this morning just to test them out with the new hotkeys I had. The second thing that I'll try to look for, this is a bonus in this trade book, but it isn't required, is the price where I'm taking the entry. I really want this entry to be as close as possible to the $0.50 or a 25-cent mark, something like that. And I would prefer for it to be around 10 cents from there. That way I know the price range of my stop loss. If it wasn't in that range, then absolutely the top of this candle is going to be my stop loss. Either that, or if I take an entry up here, then the top of this wick for sure, but it would never go past this wick. I'm not going to let it make a new high and then come back down. Once I see this falling candle, then that right there is my entry. Once I see this, if I'm trying to be really attacking this stock, then as soon as I saw this, I would have said, all right, let me go ahead and jump in right here. I didn't get in fast enough, but my entry was right around, or it was exactly at 37.40 is where I got my fill, which that automatically gives me my 10-cent stop loss, which is 37.50, and that would have also coincided with a break of that wick. So my stop loss was there. There was no question where I would have gotten out of that trade. I didn't even need to look at the candles. I could have just stared at the L2 from here on out, because if I see the L2 hit 37.5, I'm hitting the all out button. That's it. So on this trade, I wanted to mention that I did try to experiment with the ladder on the L2 where we have the quantity stacked up by size, and I was trying to look at the bid and the ask to see where the ladder stairs would have the most on each side. That is the one thing that gave me confidence in this trade to let it go lower before I started partialing out. Normally, I'm going to take a partial when I take a trade like this at the VWAP. Like a VWAP is going to be a partial for me normally no matter what. But there was so much volume to the bid, I said, all right, I'm just going to let this ride. So I let it fall all the way down to R3, and that's where I took my first partial. It dojied around a little bit, and this is where we had a huge convergence of the R3 was here, the 200, the 9, and the 20, they all just coincided in this one small area where honestly anything could happen. And that's why I said, okay, this is where I actually took my first half and I set my break even, which would have been right up here. That way, if it would have bounced off this area and started moving back up, then I was going to go ahead and take another partial at the VWAP and then just let it move on up. Fortunately for me, what happened is it dojied around a little bit. It was a little less of a doji. It was more just some small indecision. And then it completely lost the 9 and the 20. When that happened, it dumped again. Look at all this beautiful red volume down here at the bottom. And once it hit R2, that's when I said, okay, I'm going to go ahead and start taking some more portions out, because this move had already, let me clear this up a little bit for you. This was the initial move, bounce, rip up from that level. We almost got this full move all the way back down to that bottom of that candle in 5 minutes, or no, 4 minutes. So it completely gave back all that profit in that 4 candles. So that's why I went ahead and I said, okay, we're at R2 and we've already given back all that profit. I'm going to take a lot of profit out here. So I bounced out, and I think I was still holding about maybe 100 shares or something like that. At that level, we were sitting at R2. It still moved down a little bit, but I had such a small share size that I was going to let it juggle around and see what was going to happen. My average was still up here, so I had plenty of leverage. It bounced out, and then when it came back down, this is where I saw on the L2 there was a lot of action on the bid side. It was completely loaded on that side. So I said, okay, I already have this high average. I'm going to go ahead and dump another share size in there, which is what I did. And when I did that, I added this full position back to this position, and it brought my average, and I think my average was right around in this area. I can't remember the exact number. I'd have to go back, but it definitely lowered it a lot because I've sold a lot of shares. And as soon as I averaged in, this is really a perfect view of an upside down ABC. I really like playing upside down ABCs too. As you can tell, I am short biased by a long shot. So this formed this perfectly off the R3, bounced back up, and as it came back down to this level, I saw the bulls had gotten tired of trying to push this back up, and honestly, I felt confident to go ahead and take another addition. Once I did that, it bounced back down and it went below the previous close, and it hit R1, which is where I took this portion here. As you can see, it did doji back up, and then it continued to move higher with a lot of green energy here. I said I'm going to go ahead and just take the full position. I wasn't trying to get greedy with this trade. It had already moved way more than I could have ever expected. You know, as you can see here, when it moved off of this bounce here, the previous day close, it ripped all the way up here. And then from 9:42 to 10:02, so about exactly 20 minutes, it moved this and then moved all the way back down. So if I would have caught this trade here or here, I could have literally squeezed about as much profit out of this trade as possible. But, you know, I was happy with the entry. And also the stop loss was, that was the most important thing to me, was the stop loss was so clear and concise. It would have been impossible for me to let it go past that unless I just got greedy and decided I wanted to carry bags, which I hate carrying bags. They're too heavy and I got bad shoulders, so I'm not trying to mess with that. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this recap. As always, if you have any comments about what I could have done better or why I did what I did, please feel free to go to the comments and let me know what you think. And hopefully I will be back Monday with another trade recap. Enjoy your weekend. Take care.